Good morning. Hello and welcome to the Career Thrivers Show. I am Rhonda Douglas Charles, your immigrant career strategist, here to guide you from survival jobs to thriving in your professional journey. Today, we're talking about virtual interviews. A question that I got last week rather, is what spurred it. And that question was, how do I dress for a virtual interview? So let's get into it. So, as we pivot to virtual platforms for interviews, the game has definitely changed. We are no longer getting dressed to go to an in person interview. Very often, that first interview is now that virtual interview. So, and I've seen this evolution firsthand, and I'm here to share my insights. Reflecting on my personal journey, whether it be from guiding veterans in military to civilian transition or working with immigrant first and second generation students, I've seen the power of adapting to this new interview format. And every couple of years, we get something new, right, to add to our repertoire, if you will. So we have traditional versus virtual attire. And let's see how it has evolved over time. So, our traditional attire, you'd be getting dressed from head to toe, your shoes would be important. And now it has pivoted towards that virtual stage, but you still have to align it with the company culture. You still have to bring your authentic self to that interview. You still have to make that connection. So, drawing on my experience in various industries and understanding and mirroring a company's ethos, it's very key. Mirroring that in your attire. It is key for you to have a sense of time and purpose. Very often, people think of interview attire as their best dress. And while for many that is true, for some of us, our best dress is what we consider to be going to church or to a religious service. Perhaps that attire may not be the best thing to have in a corporate setting. So these are things that you want to consider. One of the things that I suggest to students all the time is when you have an interview, you want to take perhaps a drive by the organization, see how people are dressed. It was harder to do during COVID. Things are opening up, so we're back to doing that again. Another thing that you want to consider doing is taking a look at how people in the industry dress at corporate events or they dress at networking events. That's also a helpful conversation to have with a mentor or with someone from the organization that you may have connected with. When it comes to interviewing, I'm sorry, but guys, you still need to grab that tie in a lot of situations, depending on the job that you're applying for. Ladies, again, you have a lot more flexibility when it comes to your attire, but it is key that you want to have a polished appearance. It is key that you want to show up having put some thought into your appearance, right? A structured blazer rather than a cardigan always makes a big difference. So another part of this is that you want to ensure that your technology is also up to scratch. So perhaps uh, you always want to do interview prep, of course, And one of the things that you want to do is put on that outfit that you intend to interview with and have the person you're doing your interview prep with give you some feedback and be open to that feedback. Perhaps that color that you've chosen does not pop well on camera, or if it does, it's not really working with your complexion. So, all of these are things that we want to consider, and all of these are things that you have to think about. So when it comes to your technology and the setup of that technology, you want to ensure that your tech is up to scratch. Download all the necessary apps prior to your interview. You want to test it out. You want to test your audio. You want to test your video. You want to test your internet connection, right? A stable connection is crucial. Among the things that you also want to consider is when it comes to that stable connection is not using a public Wi-Fi, except of my exception to this is your public libraries. And I know with the Brooklyn Public Library and the New York Public Library, their business centers has places where you can actually book an interview space and you can have your interview in that space. It will be quiet and free from distractions. Speaking of free from distractions and you're setting up, you want to choose a distraction free, tidy location with a neutral background. You want to be mindful of what appears in your frame. I cannot stress this enough. Especially during COVID, we saw when we were glued to the news how those backgrounds, our eyes immediately zoom to it. One of the things I do when I'm doing my virtual interviews and when I'm doing the virtual mock interviews is to pay attention to the candidate's background and make them aware of what is going on in that background. When it comes to lighting and your camera position, you want to avoid glare and harsh shadows. So you always want to be if you're in a room with a large window, for example, you want to be sitting in front of that window so you're getting that wonderful light in front of you. I do not have that window in front of me right now. So I'm using a ring light, right? So you want to use soft lighting and you want to position your camera just above eye level for a more natural look. When it comes to interview techniques, and I am guilty of this, you want to avoid script reading. You want to speak from memory rather than just reading notes. So I have a series of sticky notes all over this laptop, right? I have a series of sticky notes. Sometimes if I have an interview, what I'll do is I'll use a big poster board and I'll put that poster board behind me so I can see my main points, right? So it looks as if I'm speaking from memory. I'm not speaking from notes. When you're speaking from notes and your eyes are tracking and you're going up and down the screen, it looks very odd. And I think it adds to your tension. Again, that dress, you want to dress professionally, even in the virtual setting, top and bottom, right? You want to choose colors and patterns that are camera friendly. And of course, practice makes perfect. We want to do the dry runs, do the mock interviews. You can practice with friends, you can record yourself and then give yourself a critique, but you want to seek feedback to fine tune your presentation. One of the key things you also want to do is to learn the platform that you're using. You want to master the little nuances, whether it be Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, and other similar platforms. You want to master how, at very minimum, how to turn the camera on to make sure that your audio is working, right? And also consider your attire again, the camera setup. It is the digital environment. We love tech, and because we love tech, you want to make sure that you test out the equipment. And as always, we're going to dress to impress. Yes, your focus is going to be on that visible upper half, but you want to be comfortable and you also want to be authentic. Now, of course, I want you to prepare beyond the attire. I probably say this every week. You're probably tired of hearing it, but here I go again. Research the company and the job thoroughly. You want to be comfortable, you want to be confident, right? You want to show how you are in alignment with the needs, values, and goals of that organization. You want to familiarize yourself with, of course, the interviewing platform, but you want to be concise and to the point when it comes to your responses. So, another thing that I would recommend, which is what I do every Monday morning, before you start, you want to close all unnecessary programs and documents. This way, the only thing you have up on your screen is your resume, which I consider a resume to be a cheat sheet for any interview because it has everything that you need to know, especially since your resumes are targeted to that employer. So it's speaking to everything that that employer needs to know to make an informed decision about you. So to conclude this morning, when it comes to mastering virtual interview, you want to blend your professional attire, your technical preparedness, and effective communication. Remember, for every aspect of your virtual interview, from your attire to your technical setup, it has to reflect your professionalism. You want to prepare thoroughly and let your skills shine. So, in the spirit of taking practice steps towards career advice advancement, I am, of course, going to offer you our free LinkedIn checklist. It is designed to elevate your personal brand and help you make a standout impression. This carefully crafted checklist will guide you through practical and impactful steps to revitalize your LinkedIn presence. You can get it at the LinkedIn bio. As we wrap up today's show, I encourage you to view your network with fresh eyes and to cherish your strong ties, especially when it comes to doing your virtual interviews, right? You want to remember that in the pursuit of fulfilling your career, kindness and gratitude are your silent allies. And that's our theme for this month here at Nordocs, kindness and gratitude. So when it comes to your virtual interviews, again, you want to show up on time. You want to have tested out the equipment. You want to dress professionally. You want to remain on target in terms of what you're asking. And of course, you have your questions that are relevant and you want to create a connection with that employer. So thank you for joining me this morning on the Career Thrivers Show. Stay tuned for more insight and strategies to grow your career. Best of luck in your virtual interviews. Keep thriving. And remember, kindness and gratitude can be your greatest allies on your career journey.